Hey everyone, it's Adam here. I'm really happy to be back with you today and really excited to just continue this conversation with you and learn together on how we can build a business and take it from making your first $500, which we talked about last time, and making that, building that into something and getting clients and really starting to build. Now we're going to talk about how you start building sustainable income so you can take this from a part-time or a side gig to a full-time real job that actually pays you a decent salary, right? And that's going to be a really big transition. And it's also going to change with the mindset shift from when you start out trying to get that first $500 to what type of clients are going to get you to that sustainable business, right? So today, the overarching theme of this series that we're starting today is how to build sustainable income. But we're going to be talking about 5 main parts of what that takes to do that. And today we're going to be talking about how to find the right clients. And then throughout this series, we're going to be talking about how to get and keep long-term clients. We're going to be talking about how to get referrals, building recurring revenue in your business model, and also the right way to increase your pricing. Because as we know, we're going to have a conflict as you start growing. You're going to have more demand and therefore you have to increase your price, but you don't want to alienate customers that have been with you from the beginning, right? So that's something we're going to be talking about. This is the series we're going to be going over. Today, I want to reinforce again, we're going to be talking about how to choose the right clients. Now, one of the biggest questions that I get asked almost every day is how do I find clients? So when you're talking to people, right, and you're trying to build your business, the biggest thing for you is how do I get clients? So like you're doing the work, you're starting to get things done, you're working on really enhancing your skills, you just want to showcase them to people, you want to get someone in the door. Now, I believe the better question is not about how do I get clients, it's how do I get the right clients? Because there are a lot of issues that can come up from having the wrong client. Now, there might be, and this is different for every person involved, of what your background is, what you're looking for, and what you can do. So this is something that I want to use as a guide, but you need to think about this. What's the right client for you? And what does that mean, right? So the first step is, I would say you need to set limits and you need to define your pricing. So one of the biggest mistakes I see from people starting out is they don't have a defined pricing model and they're really loose in how they say, hey, I can do this for $500 for someone, and they say, hey, I'll do this for $200 for another person. That inconsistency, you're working yourself for the same exact thing, and you're making less money for one, making more for other. Because why? Because you want to win that work, because you want to work with this person. You need to make sure you're defining your pricing and you're setting limits so you're able to say no and you're able to say why. And that comes from documenting why you have prices you are, thinking through how long does it take you to do the work? What is, the value add to the client? What is the price point of other people around you? What are they charging? For some people, for example, if you're charging $500 for a website and your next competitor is charging $2,000, what are they doing different than you that gets them to $2,000 versus when you're just doing $500, right? When you're starting out and you're setting your pricing, it's really easy to kind of think about how much money you want to make, not how much money you should be making or what the market demands you to make or what other people are charging. Now, it's really nice when you're solo and you're creating a website and you can make one website, takes you a week, create $500. You're like, that's a pretty good deal if it's a side gig, right? But in reality, you need to be able to analyze the market and see, are you producing value that dictates you should be making $1,000 or $2,000 depending on your competition? And also you need to make sure that you're comparing yourself properly in your skill set to the people, what they're doing and how they're doing it, so that you are offering the right value. Because if you come in and undercut the market, not only does that make you the cheap option, which is not always the best option, but it also puts positions of, it basically brings down the market a bit and it devalues the whole service as a whole. So people are like, well, I saw someone doing, websites for $500 while someone else is charging $5,000. And they're basically saying, well, that website's not good. And the person's like, well, it's $500 and you're charging at $5,000. How could that discrepancy, how's that $4,500 difference that much more worth it to me, right? So those are the type of conversations that you probably won't have in the beginning, but when you get into the higher price point and you're offering better value, those are the type of questions and type of responses you'll get from clients who are like, I don't understand why you're able to charge this much when this person's charging that much. And I'm not saying that charging lower prices is a bad thing. What I'm saying is that you really need to think about your pricing strategy and where you want to go and what you want to do with this, and also what part in the market you want to play. Do you want to be the price sensitive, be the low cost provider? If that's the case, focus on efficiencies, right? Focus on really having clearly defined pricing model where, like I said before, you need to set limits, you need to define your pricing. Those clients are going to try to push the scope way out. They're going to try to get everything for that price. And you need to be super strict on that pricing for what they're doing. So you're going to be like, okay, you not only get a $500 website. I keep using the example of $500 website. It just keeps it consistent. But $500 website, you're going to get maximum 5 pages where you're not going to have any custom integrations. You only can use plugins. And we're going to use this, and this to do this result. And you're going to use that template or that scope of work for every single website you build, because it keeps it consistent, keeps it efficient for you, and you can build a good product that but it doesn't necessarily lend for creativity or flexibility for the client, but they're not paying for that. When you're getting into that realm, you need to understand where you fit in the market. Do you want to be like that? Or do you want to be in the middle where you're offering a bit of flexibility? So you do a little bit of custom, a little bit more creative work, but a lot of it's already kind of templated and built out. Or you going full-fledged creative where you build custom solutions. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to go off of WordPress, but you're building and designing things that are not things you can buy from a template or a plugin store. You're building things that are unique to the client and their specific needs. Those will demand the highest pricing. Middle of the road, it's a great bridge between the two, right? When you're starting out, you might have some great creativity, but you might not be able to do everything, right? So you need to find where you fit, and you also need to think about how you're going to price it. My recommendation is that you do never do hourly pricing, right? Whenever you're getting into this whole client versus, what they want and how they're going to pay for it, hourly pricing puts you at a disadvantage from the vendor, from the agency, or from yourself, right? From that perspective, because you're not able to tell them how long it takes, because people will look at you and be like, I could do that in 5 hours. Why is it taking you 10 hours? And what do you say in response to that? Because you're the expert, right? Be like, actually, no, you're wrong. And you're telling a client they're wrong before you even sign a deal. It creates like a very combative relationship. Whereas if you go in and say, you already calculated the hours it's going to take you, you already know the cost, and you go in and say, this homepage for this type of quality, for this many revisions, this is what you're going to get on the homepage, 3 sections. You're going to get 1 plugin integration, and you're going to know, you're going to have 2 revisions to make sure it's up to your standards. That's going to cost you, this amount of dollars, fixed price. That right there will put you in a position of strength, because they have the option to say yes, they get all this, or they have the option to say no and counter back. But when they counter back, you can basically say, okay, if you don't want to pay this much money, I can take out this or take out this piece to get you to your price point. And that puts you in a position of strength to be able to negotiate based on value, but also based on features. Because if the client wants to pay this much, they have to remove something. Not you need to bring down your amount of hours, but keep the same product or keep the same exact what I want. And that, honestly, that relationship where you're doing hourly, it always turns sour, and you're basically going to be doing more and more work. And essentially you're going to be doing more hours, and the client's going to be less happy because they're paying more money, but they're not getting the results because you start off on the wrong foot. Now, if you start out the fixed pricing, you are basically taking on yourself to produce good quality, but you're also setting limits to what that means, so they can't expect you to go beyond it. And they also know what they're paying without an unknown hourly rate, right? So one of the biggest things that you really need to do in order to win that, is you need to be professional. You need to be courteous, but you need to be firm in that this is what you do. And it's okay if people don't agree with it, right? One of the biggest disadvantages for people starting out is you don't have consistent income. You don't have the ability to say no sometimes to clients. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you need to say no, because in the end, those type of clients will cost you more money than they're worth, and they'll distract you from good clients. And one of the biggest things that you don't think about until you're down the road a ways is how much those clients have cost you in the terms of you're gonna get referrals from them if you do get referrals, but do you really want referrals from them because they might refer you to people who actually are looking for the same type of service that you're providing that person, which will reinforce that type of relationship you had with your client. You'll have that with the next client, and it'll get into this cycle of clients you don't like and a business model that's not really beneficial to you, versus breaking away from that and starting out strong and saying, no, this is how I work. If people want to work with you, they can, but you're also flexible enough to decrease pricing or increase it, or fit their needs based on a value perspective. And you're not just going in saying, hey, I can do this work again for $300 when you charge someone else $500. That discrepancy will start hitting you pretty hard, and you won't be able to stand firm on your pricing. Make sure you know it's okay to say no. Make sure you understand your documentation, what you want to offer clients. Make sure you understand your value of what you can produce and know you can do it well. Don't overpromise things when you know you can't do it. If a client asks for something you can't do it, say you can't do that. They will respect it. And if you really need that client, what you can offer is, hey, I know someone who can, and I can work with them to get this done. I'll do this piece and they can do this piece, but I'll manage that for you. So therefore you can make sure the client is taken care of, but you're not over promising something. Now you could say that you can do it and you can do it all, and then you outsource pieces of it. That's up to you. But my recommendation would be very transparent up front, because the more you're able to build that relationship in the front side, the more conversations you have through the project will be easier to have those harder conversations when problems arise, when issues come up, and you're able to basically resolve them together, versus having this weird dynamic where no one's really communicating and then the project fails or doesn't bring results that the client wants. And then you're getting a client that's not happy, and then it creates this whole host of issues where you don't have a product that's great to show. You have a client that's not happy. They're not going to give you referrals. They're not going to be a great resource. If you're going to build sustainable income, you need to have happy clients. You need to have projects you can showcase. You need to have people who can talk to your clients and basically say, wow, this person did a great job. So you can start building that base of clients. The last point of this video here that I really want to go over is the value of your time. Now, it's really easy to, if you worked a full-time job previously, it's really easy to basically be like, oh, how much did I make? And I want to make the same amount as I made there. The issue is you're going to be doing a lot more work up front. You're going to be paying more taxes, and you're going to have a lot more risk involved, because you're not always going to have that sustainable, month-to-month income. So you need to price your work and either your products or your services accordingly so that you're able to make a good income. Now, the starting point for a lot of people when they start out is like $25 an hour for creative work, development work. Think about that when you're getting into it. If you can do that per week for 40 hours and you do that per month and you get that amount of money, is that worth it to you? But you have to cut 30% off that and any profit you make, again, in taxes. So you have to think about that as you go through. So you might want to charge 35 to 45. Now, wherever you start, you need to keep it consistent. But the issue is if you try to raise your prices, which we're going to talk about more in another video, one of the things that I really want to get at here is where you start at is where people are going to peg you at for value. If like you charge $25 an hour, you're going to be a low cost provider that produces okay quality, maybe adequate quality. But if you're charging $50 an hour, you're already in the realm of like, oh, that person knows what they're doing. They're a professional, upwards to $75 to $100 an hour. You need to make sure you know where you fit and where you want to be. And I'm not saying you need to charge more than what you're worth, but you need to know your capabilities and where you can go, and don't pin yourself in $25 an hour when you could be making 35 or 45, because that's actually what the market or what you can do in terms of quality of work. And one of the biggest things is you need to deliver results. So it might take you more hours than what you think in the beginning, but you can narrow down and focus on how you can improve and economize the time so that you can really deliver great results for those first clients, even if it took twice as long as you thought. But in the next clients, you can narrow down that time to get it to a time where you actually are starting to make money. So how to choose the right clients. There's a lot to say there. I'm looking forward to questions or comments, but the overview of these main points are things you need to take in considerations as you go through and start meeting with people, talking to people, and you need to make sure that you're making the right decisions. Don't just say yes because someone says, hey, I want to pay you to do work. Ask the second question is, how can we work together? And also, is this the right pricing based on what they need? Is this going to produce the best result? If that's so, work with them. If not, reconsider it and keep moving on. Thanks for your time today. We're really looking forward to exploring this more with you. Looking forward to chatting more.